4:01. And present we have Christy Sabdo, Chris Schmidt, Kim Cole, Nat, Jennifer Cleary, and Sarah Ziel. And do you want to do a roll call?
Yes, please.
And I can go ahead and take care of that for you, Chair. So let's go ahead and do our roll call. So I have Chair Carter.
Here.
Vice Chair Bluth. Oh, Vice Chair Bluth, you may be muted.
Here.
Oh, thank you very much. Committee Member Connor.
Here.
Committee Member Hunter.
Present.
Committee Member Polly.
Here.
Committee Member Schmidt.
Here.
And Committee Member Tregenza.
Here.
Thank you very much.
So we have everyone here. Next, we're going to move to consent agenda. The only item on our consent agenda is the approval of the October 21st minutes. I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion about that? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Sure. Let me pull that up here. Chair Carter.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bluth.
Aye.
Committee Member Connor.
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter.
Aye.
Committee Member Polly.
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt.
Aye.
And Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, that motion passes. Next, we're going to open for public comment for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to the committee for items not on the agenda? Do we have anybody, staff?
Jennifer or Sarah, could you announce the instructions for public comment? And thank you.
Sure, so sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulty there. I will start with the public comment info right now. We will encourage members of the public to join our meeting via Zoom Gov, a secure service for use by government agencies. Joining in on Zoom is preferred because there is no lag time. You're connected live in real time to the meeting. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey with approximately a 10-second delay. And on Comcast, today we are on channel 24, Comcast channel 24, with up to a 90-second delay. If you plan to make a public comment, join the meeting using Zoom on the app or by telephone, making sure you join in time to accommodate the delay. To join the meeting on Zoom on your computer or phone, use the link or phone number on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. Since the meeting has started, you'll find the agenda under the recent tab. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864 toll free or 669-254-5252. Then enter the webinar ID 160-794-5995. If prompted to enter participant ID, press pound. Details and instructions on using Zoom are available at monterey.org/public meetings. When it's time to make a public comment, please raise your hand using Zoom, or if you are connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute yourself when called upon. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. We ask that public commenters turn off TV or computer speakers to go to another room while connected by phone, as any background noise will interfere with the broadcast. Once it is public comment time, I will call on each public speaker in the order of their hands raised. The chair has designated a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting, and we'll have a countdown timer on the screen. If you're connected live on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. Please stay within your time limit so you don't get cut off. We look forward to receiving your public comment. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I don't see any hands raised at this time for public comment. So we will close general public comment, and if we receive anybody who would like to speak to the committee for general public comment, we will hear them. First, we'll hear the first public appearance item, which is to consider 751 Archer Street for architecture review application ARP 20-0210 to allow a second story addition. And do we have a staff report?
Okay, sorry, I was having trouble unmuting my mic. So thank you, Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a senior associate planner with the city, and I've been working with the applicant and the neighbors on this project. Yes, we're looking at a second story addition at 751 Archer Street. The staff recommendation is to approve preliminary and final architectural review of the project. Just some background information about the site. It's located in the New Monterey neighborhood. It is zoned R15, has a general plan designation of single family residential, and it contains an existing single family residence. This home actually was the addition at the rear here, and it's the location of the proposed addition is fairly new. I believe that permit was approved by the ARC in 2014. This table just shows that the project is consistent with the development standards. If there are questions about that, we can refer back to it. And here you see the location of the proposed second story addition. It's fairly modest in size, about 100 square feet in additional floor area. Here's the proposed first floor plan. So they are also proposing to build underneath the addition a small storage space underneath the stairwell. And then here is the addition itself, which is intended to be, I believe, an office. You can see there's a deck on the north side of the building. Here's a street view image, courtesy of Google, of the existing home. And I do have a conceptual drawing that shows this same view with the addition that I will show on a later slide. Here we see the addition, the front and rear elevations with the addition on the top, of course. And as you'll see, the exterior materials are a little bit different than the existing structure, which is the existing is a lap siding where the addition's materials are cedar, batten, and board. Here we see the west elevation, which would be the right side of the home if you were facing from the street. I do want to note the addition is well under the height limit there. The architect basically showed that height limit there with the dotted line here, and it's about 3 feet under that height limit. And then here is the east side, the left side facing the front. And then moving on into the conceptual drawings, this is what the addition would look like from the rear yard of the home. As I noted, the materials are cedar, batten and board siding that will be stained with a semi-transparent stain. And note that it does contrast the existing home a little bit. Staff found that to be fitting. Here's that conceptual drawing that I noted of a view from the front of the home. You can see that addition at the rear. Now moving on to impacts. So there were 2 impacts that were identified. Staff spoke to these neighbors, or at least at the rear, I spoke to the neighbors about their view impacts at 750 Pine Street. And I have some photos to show that impact. And then on the adjacent south end, the 739 Archer Street structure, I did not speak to the owner, but I spoke to a realtor who was working with the, I think, now owner as of yesterday, I believe, about their concern for privacy impacts, specifically views into their rear yard where they intend to put a hot tub. And so they have some concern that their hot tub might be visible from the addition. So looking at the view impacts at 750 Pine Street, here, this is a photo that I took at the neighbor's house, seated at their dining room table. You can obviously see the story poles are definitely impacting the bay view. Moving on to the next slide, this is a view from their deck. I was standing, and I am fairly tall, standing on their deck. And then some photos provided by that neighbor. This is the same view that from their dining room, same as the photo that I took. And then this is a view from one of the bedrooms adjacent to that dining room. This was a conceptual drawing based on a photo provided by the neighbor to the applicant. The applicant basically drew this in to show what that impact might be in a realistic way. And then moving on to the next impact. So the applicant took a conceptual drawing and imposed it on this image that the neighbor took to show what that addition would look like from the rear. And you'll note he actually did design this conceptual drawing without the window that is shown in the plans that I've highlighted with the orange. He suggested that if it's a concern of the neighbor, he might design that in, or he would consider removing that window if the ARC desired so. And this graphic shows what that view would be. And I do want to make it clear that those two windows on that facade there are above the loft stairwell. So any view would be seen from set back a few feet. And I'm sorry, I didn't measure how far away that would be, but you would not be able to peer directly through that window, from right against the window. So in order to approve the project, the ARC has to make 4 findings. First is that the proposed siding, form, mass, and architectural style are appropriate. Staff was able to make this finding. The addition meets the development standards. The style is compatible with the existing home and the surrounding neighborhood. The addition is substantially set back, and it's fairly modest in size. It's really a small addition compared to what they might be able to do at this site. The next finding is that views, privacy, and the living environment are not unreasonably impaired. Staff found that these view and privacy impacts were not unreasonably impaired. The view impact, it's a minor view impact. It's consistent with the city's New Monterey Area Plan guidelines that only a portion of the view really should be impacted, and the rest of the view can be maintained. The applicant had made some design choices that really minimize that view impact, notably using a hip roof, using some techniques to lower the overall floor and roof height. And ultimately, staff found that this impact was not unreasonable based on that and based on the size of the addition. The privacy impact, staff did not find to be unreasonable with the originally proposed design with the 2 windows. And that's really because when staff is looking at these types of privacy impacts, we're really looking at those critically impaired impacts. Looking directly into a bedroom, directly into a bathroom. We don't really look at these types of impacts into rear yards as unreasonable. And I recognize that the neighbor does want to put a hot tub there, and I understand that concern. Next is that the project is consistent with the city plans and design guidelines, which it is especially in terms of those view impacts, as I mentioned. And then the addition does go uphill with the topography as the city plans recommend. And then lastly, it has to do with the exterior finish, materials, landscaping, lighting, and all other features, which in this case, it's just exterior materials and finishes. Staff was able to find that it was appropriate. With that, staff's recommendation is to approve the project. I'm available for questions, and I believe the applicant is on the call as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Are there questions for Chris? I have one if nobody else has any. For the top of the stairwell that would be looking down into the neighbor's yard, I mean, realistically, how often do we expect that stairwell would be used to go into the second story? If we're concerned about view impacts going into the neighbor's yard?
That's a great question. I think it's best that the applicant answers that. He is the homeowner and the architect for the project. I assume that he'll have to provide that answer. I assume he intends to use it as a workspace, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, I can ask them. Thank you. Okay, do we have the applicant who would like to make a presentation? If you want to raise your hand. Thank you.
I have just allowed the attendee Doug to unmute. So Doug, please unmute and present your public comment.
Thank you for joining us.
I just did. So I would just want to answer any questions that there might be. You asked a question about how often the stairway would be used.
Yeah.
Is that the question? Because from the stairway itself, there is no view. The window is up above, but once you're in the space, then you can look
Okay,
across.
so then I guess my question is, what would the... So there wouldn't be any views from the windows then down into the neighbor's yard?
Well, there's a kind of a view, as Chris pointed out, once you're at the top of the stair and inside the space, you're looking across the stairwell as that section I provided showed. But when you're in the stairwell itself, there's no window there. It's up above your head.
I see. Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
I think Chris covered it pretty completely.
Thank you so much. Did anybody have any questions for the applicant? Go ahead.
Yeah, Doug, thanks for your graphics and your rendering. They're really helpful in terms of envisioning the project and the view impacts. I just had a quick question. Explain to me it doesn't look like a legal staircase. How does that get by how is that going to get by the building department? It looks almost like a ladder to a storage space.
It's called an alternating stair, and it's allowed when it's serving a space that's less than 200 square feet. It's a specific point in the building code, which is why I called it a loft.
Okay, so it's less than 200 square feet. That's the wrinkle in the code.
It's 101 square feet.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to open this up for public comments. If there's anybody on the call that would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now.
Do see one attendee raising their hand, but before we allow you to speak, I just want to provide the public comment information one more time.
Thank you.
So you can join into the meeting on Zoom on the computer or phone using the information found on isearchmonterey.org, and scroll down to today's ARC meeting, which the agenda will be in the recent tab for. You can dial by phone. By phone, you can dial 833-568-8864 or 669-254-5252. Our webinar ID is 160-794-5995. If you are prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound. Once again, I will also supply information on how to make public comment. You can raise your hand using Zoom. There is a button on the app, or if you're connected by phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute yourself when called upon. Lastly, I would like to announce that due to a conflict with our appeals hearing board streaming live on our typical YouTube channel right now, this meeting is being streamed on the Monterey Sports Center YouTube channel, which you can find by going to youtube.com and searching the Monterey Sports Center. This will be a video playing at the top because we are live. So finally, without further ado, I will allow our one commenter who is raising their hand to speak. So Lynn, you are on with the Architectural Review Committee.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is showing up as Lynn Ye, Lynn O'Neill, and my husband is Carrie Ye, and we are the owners of 750 Pine Street, which is directly above the property that we're discussing right now. And so just wanted to make one point, and then I do have one question for the committee. So there was, as Chris mentioned, and there was previous construction a few years back on this property, and it did limit our view from our lower level, which is not the deck that you have seen pictures of, not from the deck or the living room, but our lower level. So that was, the view was impacted due to previous construction. And my one question for today is the rear window in this space, the proposed space. I do think actually will, impact, as you saw, there was a picture from our bedroom. And so I do think there is somewhat of a privacy issue there. I'm not sure how this is typically handled, since this is my first Architectural Review Committee meeting. But I do want to make that point that is somewhat of a privacy concern to us. And I also just want to thank Chris. He's been a pleasure to work with, and appreciate his professionalism and all he did to facilitate this.
Chris, could you show us that window again,
Yes.
please?
Give me 1 moment. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but that window would be in this location here.
Chris, this is Kim. Could you also bring up the rear elevation of the proposed project? And if not, I'm happy to share it.
Sure, I can do that. Give me one
Thank you.
moment.
also a rendering that shows it a little better.
So here's the elevation. I think the rendering actually is the best, and I'll show that in a moment.
Chris, can you point with the cursor, the rear window that
That one.
Ms. O'Neill brought up? Thank you.
And Chris, sorry, would you be able to confirm, to me, it looks like on the plans that also is over the staircase. Is that,
So
someone
yeah,
else confirm that for me?
yeah. So it's at the top. It's at the top of the landing of the stair. So.
Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
And here, I have another graphic I'd like to show. Is this showing a PDF, or I think I need to change it? Give me one moment. Do we see this PDF, this section? So this is the top of the landing that I mentioned. That window is on this rear wall here.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, are there any other public comments?
Hi there. We do have Lynn raising her hand again. Can Chair, would you like to allow her to speak a second time?
I don't know what the usual procedure is on this.
Chair Carter, you're welcome to accept a second public comment, but if you do, you would need to provide all parties an equal opportunity. So it's at your discretion whether you want to allow a second comment or whether it's ended.
I think that we'll probably close public comments and have it start committee discussion at this point. Who would like to start committee discussion?
I guess I'll make the point that it seems like they really did a good job at minimizing the view impacts, and even the neighbor in the back seems not to have any concerns about that. And the window that is facing the back neighbor, since the landings there, it would seem that most of the view would just be during ascent of the stairway. So it looks like a pretty good project. Can't think of anything that I would be concerned about.
Anybody else? Go for it, Justin.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good project as well. Again, commend Mr. Howell on the presentation. It just makes it so much easier to assess these things when someone takes the time to build the 3D model and do the use studies It's rare that we see it, and I just think we need to acknowledge when we see a good graphic presentation like this, because it does make our job a lot easier. As for the window at the landing, it seems to be a completely different proportion and style of window than the others, and I guess I don't quite see the need, like the sill is lower, so it feels like a bigger window. I don't quite see the need for such a big window there. And I would almost think that would work. I understand why he wants glazing there. It's sort of a southeast elevation, so there'll be some nice light filtering in through that window and illuminating the staircase up to the loft, or the ship's ladder for that matter. I sort of feel like that could be achieved with a window that was half that size and didn't have such a low sill. For instance, if you can see it's a single hung or a double hung window. If that window were just the size of the top portion of that window, it would still allow for that light into that space and maybe not have as much of a view impact as you're moving up the stairs. You know, as your head gets up to that landing, you do start looking right at that neighbor's house. So I don't think the inhabitant of that structure necessarily desires to look into the house. I think he put that window there for, you know, lighting that stairway. And I think that could be achieved with a smaller window. So that would be my suggestion.
Are there any other comments? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I guess I'll do the motion that we approve 521 Archer Street Architecture Review Application ARP 20-210 to allow a second story addition with a request that the window be reduced in size to half its current configuration.
Did you want to give a particular window?
The rear window facing, is it east? I don't have the graphic in front of me.
Southeast.
Southeast.
Zoe, are we allowed to ask the architect if they'd be open to that at this point, or are we just sort of in our deliberation?
Yeah.
It's like he left a call.
Oh, they did.
Did he?
He's there.
Is he?
The applicant's there.
Doug, I have just allowed you to speak, to unmute. You should be able to unmute yourself and begin talking.
Okay, thank you. Well, as far as reducing the size of that window, I prefer not to. It is a double hung window, which matches most of the windows in the rest of the house, not the other windows in the addition. As far as the privacy goes, I think there's another picture that I provided, if you could put it up, that shows the view of the neighbor's house and the addition in front of it looking back towards their house. And I think my point is that privacy works both ways. And I think, if anything, you know, they're looking down into my yard already. So I don't know why they would object to my window. It's not that picture. It looks the other direction. I took a picture from my roof looking back towards their property and then put the addition into it.
Let me see if I can find it. I don't think I have it in this PowerPoint.
Yes, I have the graphic. I'm happy to share
Okay.
it.
Sure, thanks. Thank you.
Can everyone see the graphic? Okay. And Chair Carter, because you reopened the public hearing, we'll also need to reopen it for Ms. O'Neill, which is absolutely fine, but both parties need to be given the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for that reminder, Kim.
And you can see, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can see from there that the window that's in question is looking basically into that tree that it's between our yards. Their windows are up quite a bit higher.
Yeah, you're right.
And I can look up into their windows from my backyard as they can look down into my yard from their windows now.
I would actually agree with that. I thought they were more at the same level, but the lower pane of that window isn't really the view impact. It is the upper pane. So getting rid of the lower pane doesn't do anything.
Okay.
This is Patrick, committee member Patrick. I like the scale of the existing window on that wall. It's a little longer than the rest, but that kind of offsets the fact that it's just one window by itself. Yeah, and you can see it there with the slope of the little fenestration roof line. I think that works really well. I think that's a good size, personally, from a balance standpoint. So, yeah, I would probably agree with the applicant and kind of fight for that size. I think it works really well, and it's going to allow a lot of nice light to come in through that side of the loft.
And just a reminder, Chair Carter, we need to accept additional public comment if it's available.
That's right. Okay. So can we let Ms. O'Neill come back in on her public comment, please?
Absolutely. I have just allowed her to unmute.
Thank you very much, Ms. Clary. Just wanted to make one point that Doug had mentioned, that we're able to see into his house, but through his windows, but actually with all of the bushes and trees in their yard and our yard, we do not have visibility into their house. But from the schematic that he showed, they will have, there will be some amount of visibility. I'm not saying that we are objecting so strongly that we're wanting to stop the project. I'm just saying that I do think that there is some amount of visibility that will be into our bedroom, to be specific. And then I'm not sure, once again, since I haven't been involved in one of these meetings before, but I did put a question in the Q&A. So I'm not sure if that'll be just something that would be addressed offline or as part of this meeting, but at a later time, but just regarding property values and, if our view's impacted and our property value goes down, do we get a different assessment on our property in terms of taxes? That's all. Thank you.
Okay. I don't think there's any more public comments. So I don't believe I think we were trying to get a motion. Were there any further committee member comments?
Should we just do a motion to approve as staff has written it up?
Go ahead.
This is Patrick again.
Yeah,
I just want to say that I think this is a really nice addition. I like the differentiation in the siding, so it kind of stands out. I think it's really well done. I think if anything, an addition like this is going to raise the property values of the entire neighborhood, because it's just it's making the whole neighborhood a nicer place, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd like to, I'm not going to necessarily make the motion, but I'd like to see the motion just basically go along with staff guidelines. Okay, should we do that? I make a motion to approve 7
51 Orchard Street, architectural review application ARP 20-0210 to allow a second story addition.
As recommended by staff, correct?
As recommended by staff.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Great. Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Chair Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Connor,
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Pauly,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt,
Aye.
and Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion carries. You have received your architecture review permit and you can appeal this to the Planning Commission within 10 days. Thank you, everybody, for your participation on this. And we are going to move to the next public appearance item, which is to consider 584 Monroe Avenue sign permit application SI 20-0250 for 2 projecting signs. And thank you for a great discussion on that. That was wonderful. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Carter and committee members. My name is Christy Sabdo. I'm Associate Planner with the City of Monterey. Project applicant John Mata with Monterey Signs has proposed 2 projecting signs that are inconsistent with the architect or the citywide sign guidelines, and that's why this is before you tonight. Staff recommends approval of the 2 projecting signs at 584 Moonross Avenue. The property is zoned planned community, downtown specific plan, emergency shelter, and the land use designation is commercial. You can see that it's at the corner of Webster and Moonross Avenue. It's in the East Village district of the downtown specific plan, and often within the downtown specific plan, there are certain standards and guidelines for each district. So here are photos. They were taken sort of in the evening, so I apologize for them being dark. This is the corner frontage, and they're currently renovating the property, the exterior, for the Santa Cruz County Bank. They received an architectural review permit for that, so they're still in process. But you'll see that there's a corner frontage, and there's a Webster Street frontage, which leads to like Trader Joe's, and then the Moonross Avenue frontage. And then there's another frontage where there's a public walkway to the ATM. You'll see, if you can see my cursor, this is where the new ATM is going to be, and the ATM signage. So there's a maximum allowable sign area of 1 square foot for each linear foot of commercial building frontage. And for this irregular shaped building, we follow the definition in the guidelines. So it talks about building frontage, and those areas along the building frontage are those, you include that in the linear frontage. So if it meets the definition of building frontage, you include that in the linear footage for the allowable sign area. So I'll read that definition of building frontage. It's the horizontal distance along a building face that is oriented in parallel to a public right-of-way or public walkway. For purposes of this definition, a public walkway is a patch leading to a business entrance. So for example, this could be considered a patch leading to a public entrance. And we included this because it leads to the ATM, which is going to be right here. So they are allowed a maximum of 151 square feet of commercial signage for this building, although they are not proposing that. So they did propose for signage that is consistent with the citywide sign guidelines. That was approved on November 5th of 2020. That included 2 wall signs, the 8 square foot wall sign above the ATM shown here, and the 49 square foot wall sign on the corner. The 2 proposed projecting signs, the subject of this application before you tonight, is 2 4.5 square foot projecting signs. and they will be located where the stars are. Here along Moonross Avenue, you see this is the corner, this is where the wall sign is. And here's the one projecting sign and the other one is along Webster Street. So I'll just march through here the consistency analysis. With the the citywide sign guidelines allows 1 square foot for each linear foot of building frontage. And like I said, they're allowed 151 square feet. They, with the former ARC or ARP approval, that was 57 square feet of approved wall signage. You add the 9 square feet for the projecting signs if it's approved, and that's 66 square feet. So well under what's allowed. There should be no more than 1 projecting sign per storefront. That would be inconsistent because they are proposing 2 projecting signs, one along each frontage, Moonross and Webster Street. Projecting signs shall not exceed 6 square feet in area. It's consistent. Each sign is proposed to be 4.5 square feet. A projecting sign should not be installed more than 12 feet above grade, and it won't be, so it's consistent. Same with the next one. It shouldn't be suspended. It should provide a minimum clearance of 8 feet over a walkway, and it will do that. Multiple projecting signs on the same or contiguous property should not be installed within 10 feet of each other. Excuse me. They won't be. They'll be 50 feet from one another. And projecting signs should be located within 10 feet of the public entrance to the business for which the sign is associated. That is inconsistent. The projecting sign along Moonross Avenue would be located 28 feet from the public entrance, and the one along Webster Avenue would be approximately 26 feet from the public entrance. And then with the downtown specific plan, it's consistent with all of the objectives and guidelines. It fits into the design fabric of downtown Monterey. The visual prominence of the sign is appropriate to allow for views of the buildings, trees, and streetscape. That won't change. The design of the sign continues the unique design character. And projecting signs and wall signs are preferred, and this proposal would propose projecting signs. And the findings, the first one, the proposed projecting signs are an effective means of identifying the business along the street frontages of both streets, as the corner wall sign would not be visible from these street frontages. So it allows the pedestrians to know that it's a bank because they can't always see that wall sign along the corner. The proposed projecting signs would enhance the aesthetic character of the setting of the building at the prominent street corner of Moonross Avenue and Webster Street, and are designed to be an integral visual detail to the newly renovated exterior of the bank. The proposal would not detract from the scenic qualities of Monterey. They're appropriate for the individual building and fit within the downtown. One projecting sign along each street would not appear to be cluttered due to the massive scale of the building, and the signs reflect the unique qualities of the site and convey a cohesive and complementary streetscape. The projecting signs are not wholly consistent with the sign guidelines. As I said previously, there would be more than 1 projecting sign per storefront. However, the purpose of the projecting signs would be to identify the bank business. The projecting signs would not be located within 10 feet of the public entrance. However, the main sign identifying the business as Santa Cruz County Bank is a wall sign located on the corner. The projecting signs would help identify the building along each street frontage, primarily for pedestrians. Due to the unique building layout, the proposed signage better achieves the purpose and objectives of the sign ordinance. The proposed signage is largely consistent with the general plan in that it supports a commercial use. And the proposal is consistent with the downtown specific plan, as I just went through that previously. Therefore, the projecting signs would fit into the design fabric of downtown Monterey and unique character. Staff recommends approval of the 2 projecting signs at 584 Moonross Avenue. And the applicant is on the line if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for Christy?
I have a question. I'm just curious. I haven't had a chance to look at the actual, where the actual signs are, like actually go physically to the property and look where the signs are going to be. But what's the reason that they're more than 10 feet away from the entrance?
I know that the applicant can best address that question.
Okay.
He's explained it to me before.
Are there any other questions for Christy? Okay, seeing none, would the applicant like to make a presentation?
There he is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, I've just allowed you permission to speak.
Am I ready to talk?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Just to answer his question, I mean, it's just the shape of the building. I mean, if we put the blade signs on the 10 feet from the entrance, you won't be able to see them from Webster or Moonrise. And that's what we're trying to do. So customers walking along the street can see that. If the building was kind of flat, you'd be able to see their signs walking down the sidewalk. But since it's such an odd shaped building, we need to put a blade signs on each corner so we can, so the pedestrians can see when they're looking for the bank.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I think the entrance is on like, it's like a 45-degree angled setback on the corner. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's a weird location. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, did you have anything else for us?
That was it.
Okay. We're gonna.
I do have one person raising their hand to provide public comment.
Great.
Would you like to open that now or not yet?
Yes, we will.
Great. Mary, I have asked you to unmute.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. This is Mary Ann Carson from Santa Cruz County Bank, and I was just going to say exactly what John Mata said, so I raised my hand to address the question about the inset. There's an indentation in the building that doesn't allow you to see the main signage from either side of the street, and I believe John addressed that. So thank you all for your consideration.
I drive by there quite often on my way to Trader Joe's and know what you're talking about.
Great.
Is there any other public comment, Jennifer?
Currently, there is no public comment, but I will announce the information one last time.
That would be great.
The information can be found on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. To join by telephone, please dial 833-568-8864 or 669-254-5252. The webinar ID is 160-794-5995. And once again, today we are airing on channel 24 and also the YouTube channel for the Monterey Sports Center. And again, there are currently no public comments. Thank you.
Wonderful. Then we will close public comment for now, and if we have others, we'll take them. And we will open for committee member comments. Are there any committee member comments?
This is Patrick. I'm just really excited to see a bank going back into this location. It was a bank I know originally, and it's been a bunch of different things ever since. And it's been a little bit of an eyesore, and it's the first thing you see as you kind of drive into downtown Monterey. So I'm really excited to see, they're doing a great job on the updating of the facade and the natural cedar siding and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a nice project. I'm really happy to see it happen.
Yeah, this is Justin. I would echo Patrick's comments that the building it's been sort of like you said, an eyesore for a while, and they're doing a nice job on the TI. It looks really good.
It'll be a nice corner there with the banks and the new building going in, and
Yeah,
it'll be great.
yeah. And the signs look fine.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Okay, then if there's nothing else, then I'll take a motion.
Okay, I'll,
Oh, we lost you, Ed. Ed, you're muted.
all right, there we go. All right, let me try that again. All right, move that we approve sign permit application SI-20-0250 for two projecting signs in accordance with the staff's recommendations.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Sure, let me pull that up right here. Chair Carter,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bluth,
Aye.
Committee Member Connor,
Aye.
Committee Member Hunter,
Aye.
Committee Member Polly,
Aye.
Committee Member Schmidt,
Aye.
and Committee Member Tregenza.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Motion carries. And we are obviously excited about the bank going in. So if anybody would like to appeal this, it can be appealed to the Planning Commission within 10 days. And thank you for Santa Cruz County Bank for being with us today and participating. And are there any other committee member comments, general committee member comments anybody would like to make?
I have one. My husband and I are actually moving. We're not moving far, but far enough to no longer be able to sit on the ARC. So this is going to be my last meeting, but I want to thank everyone and staff for, this has been a great experience, and I will still be in the community. So look forward to seeing everyone around.
Thanks, Shannon. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you for your service, Shannon. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Staff thanks you as well, Shannon. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shannon. Anybody else? Any staff reports?
Thanks, Chair Carter. I'm just going to take this opportunity. We provided you a written planning office update with some of the things that are happening at the various boards and commissions, but I thought it might be helpful for me just to highlight a couple of them for you. You may be aware that the state of California dramatically changed the state laws regarding accessory dwelling units, and those went into effect January 1st of 2020. And what you see most recently on the council agenda is we've repealed all of our ADU laws, with the exception of establishing a minimum or maximum height limit for accessory dwelling units of 16 feet. And that's really just a placeholder. And right now, the Planning Commission has hosted 2 public meetings on looking to see if they want to recommend to the City Council to allow more flexible rules for accessory dwelling units, so go beyond the state law. And so you might be interested in going back and listening to the tape. They're long meetings, but or reading the minutes, just about how that dialogue is moving forward. So we have about, I think, 30 accessory dwelling units that have been built in the last few years under the new laws as they've become more liberal. And we expect to see that trend continue, especially if the city receives water resources at some point. So accessory dwelling units, we're spending a lot of time on that. Andy Flower is our lead planner on that ordinance amendment. The other major ordinance amendments we're working on are involving cannabis. And Chris Schmidt is the lead on the first of those ordinances going to the City Council on December 1st. And that is to establish rules and regulations to allow laboratory facilities to test cannabis products. We have one facility up in Ryan Ranch that has been licensed to do that, and the city council asked us to come back with a more complete set of rules so additional businesses can open. At that same meeting on December 1st, Chris will be presenting the cannabis ordinance for laboratory testing to the city council. And our city manager will be outlining a roadmap, if you will, to consider other cannabis policies, everything from dispensaries to special events, transportation, and distribution. If you look at the report we provided you, we also recently went to City Council with 3 conceptual reviews. Some developers are really out there thinking outside the box, and we wanted to bring those forward. The council decided to table all 3 of those reviews and asked that if the applicants were interested, they file formal applications and go to the Planning Commission for deliberations. Some of those applications included 200 new housing units on Barnett Siegel Drive, which is sort of up by the hospice if you're not familiar with that road. Also looking at a couple sites along Del Monte Avenue, one on the ocean side at Del Monte and Sloat, where the tire business is, and then one further down at an abandoned car lot. So I don't know what the future holds for those sites. The developers were able to receive lots of public comment at the council meeting, and we'll see how that shapes up in the near future. So if you have any questions regarding the planning office update, there's a lot happening, and we're hoping to close out the year with a couple new ordinances.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
All right, if nobody has anything else, we will adjourn at 5:02. Thank you all.